includes the VP of Crude and Gas Operation, the VP of Sales and Marketing, as well as the Director of Commerce of PT Pertamina International Shipping. And we have Ibu Meizani Irmadiani from Konservasi Indonesia. Meizani Irmadiani is the Senior President of Konservasi Indonesia. She has been working to build strategies in partnership with private and also public sectors for the people and nature. She also advises CI's work across the Asia Pacific region. And today's event is organized by the Walton Family Foundation, and representing the foundation, I'd like to invite Ms. Irna Seti to explain a little bit more about the foundation and also the background of today's discussion.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity and having us here. I'm delighted we are to host this event today, and welcome all the audience online. So hopefully we will be having very fruitful and productive discussion today is about small-scale fisheries and how we can together build a resilience and a capacity to address the climate change challenges that are affecting them the most. So, and the background of today's activities, the foundations aim to promote the small-scale fisheries, not only in Indonesia, actually, across the world, but today that we will be focusing on the Indonesian case in the context because the significance of Indonesia as the biggest fishing nations and also the diversity of the fishery itself that in terms of number of fisheries dominated by small-scale fisheries, and also fishing gears, and also the type of commodities the Indonesian fisheries are producing. A little bit of background about the Walton Family Foundations. The Walton Family Foundations has a program. Actually, the foundation has quite a broad programs, not only just the environment. One of the programs, environment program, that aims to protect waters, to address climate change challenges. And the principle of this, to achieve this objective, is by working together with nature's system, so then people and the environment can strive together. So the approach is not only just focusing on the sustainability of the environment and the resources, but also the people that depend and affected by the resource itself. The Oceans Initiative is one of initiative under the environment program that focus on sustaining fisheries globally. And why the fisheries is significant? Because of the significance of the sector to food security, livelihood, and also social and economic development in the coastal communities and in the national level as well. And the fishery sector as well has been affected and will be affected by the climate change. So, and as we heard this morning, that significant changes in the fishery sector will be happening if we don't manage and address the challenge of the managing fisheries. All right, sorry. So, and then in sustaining the global fisheries, the Oceans Initiative has a theory of change that comprise a multi-dimensional aspect that include inclusions, innovations, supply chain, and policy. This means that the innovation, the inclusion that the initiative will include or will engage diverse stakeholders from farmers, supply chain actors, policymakers, private sectors, and also finders. So the inclusion is not only just in the aspect of supply chain, but also in the aspect of financing as well. And also we believe that innovations and innovative approach is really necessary to address the challenge in managing fisheries. For instance, how we can better monitor catch how we can get a better data, and that requires a lot of innovation and technology so that we can have more effective and efficient monitoring data and also monitoring catch as well. That's one of the example. And then we also believe that we need to leverage markets through the supply and demand mechanism to increase the supply and the demand of sustainable seafood, and also to incentivize better practices. Without the incentive, I think it's really hard for us to enforce and to provide a benefit for people to comply with any kind of measures and also governance policy as well. And as part of that, the foundations also support necessary policy transform as a pathway to provide enabling conditions to ensure the sustainability of any initiative for long-term impact and outcome that we aim together. And that's the underlying theory of change of the Oceans Initiative Walton Foundation is supporting. So we have a lot of grantees across the world. As I mentioned before, that the foundation's approach is trying to engage supply chain actors through the fishers, and also we also engage seafood industry as well. So with that kind of approach, so then we can increase sustainable fisheries productions and also to increase the demand of sustainably managed seafood products as well. So if we look where the foundation has been working on, for the markets aspect, the foundation has been working in more developed countries such as Europe, US, and Japan. And the foundation has been working and supporting 14 fisheries, primarily in the producing country like Mexico, Peru, Chile, and Indonesia as well. In a nutshell, why is Indonesia is significant? As I mentioned before, that the significance of the Indonesian as one of the biggest producing country. And Indonesia, we work 3 fisheries that include tuna, blue swimming crab, and octopus. And in today's panel, we bring fishermen from Indonesia, small-scale fishers. So we will be listening and learning from him, Pak Mustain, about the challenge and also the initiative that been done by his network, Fishers Network, through our Grantee Sustainable Fisheries Partnership. I guess we can have a lot of more discussions about the Walton Family Foundation initiative after the Q&A and after this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Indrasari. So let's start the panel, and I guess we'll have to start with the man of the hour, the real fisherman, who will be talking about his own experiences and the highlight of his story about how he empowered his fellow fishermen. So I'd like to invite Mr. Mustain Sarmini, and also Dr. Indrasari will be helping in translating his presentation.
Thank you. It's a little bit background. The presentations it's written in English, but Pak Mustain, he doesn't speak English at all. So I will be translate after him, and please bear with us for any kind of delay and some of misunderstanding if that happens.
Terima kasih atas waktu yang diberikan pada saya. Sebelumnya kami mengucapkan sangat bangga sekali, sangat termotivasi sekali bahwa kita bisa hadir di tengah-tengah Bapak Ibu semua.
For the first, we would like to express our Sincere thank you for everyone to having us here, and I'm so delighted to be here as part of this forum.
Perkenalkan, nama saya Mustain dari Forum Komunikasi Nelayan Rajungan Nusantara yang ada di Indonesia.
I'm Mustain and I am from the Blue Swimming Craft Fisheries Network from Indonesia.
Berdiri forum ini, Forkom ini di tahun 2020, tepatnya tanggal 6 Desember.
So this communication fisheries network established 2020 December 4th.
Keanggotaan kami ada di 4 provinsi yang penghasil terbesar rajungan di provinsi yang ada di Indonesia. Salah satunya ada Provinsi Jawa Tengah, Provinsi Jawa Timur, Provinsi Lampung, dan Provinsi Sulawesi Selatan.
Forkom, there you go. Forkom exists in provinces in Indonesia, in Central Java, East Java, Lampung, and South Sulawesi. These provinces are the biggest producing provinces of blue swimming crab in Indonesia.
Terkait dengan saat ini, terkait dengan perubahan dampak iklim, nelayan kami sangat melakukan apa yang sudah dilakukan dengan terkait dengan global ini, karena penangkapannya semakin menjauh dan rajungannya semakin mengecil.
Our fishers has experienced some changes that might be related with climate change. Some instance of that changes is the size of the catch and also the distance of the fishing grounds.
Dengan pemanasan yang sangat panas sekali, juga air tinggi di pesisir yang ada di wilayah kami atau
Another changes that we have experienced is the changes in the sea water level rise, where we experience floods seasonally in our villages.
Yang sudah kami lakukan terkait dengan dampak global ini, kami dengan teman-teman Forkom melakukan kawasan atau perlindungan konservasi rajungan dengan kearifan lokal bersama teman-teman Forkom.
To address this challenge, our network has initiative to establish some of actions. One of them actually to establish marine protected area and nursery area for the buried blue swimming crab catch.
Terkait dengan itu, kami juga melakukan dengan sosioekonomi terkait dengan koperasi. Bagaimanapun koperasi ini sangat mendukung untuk teman-teman nelayan terkait dengan ekonominya. Terkait dengan itu, banyak teman-teman Forkom ini yang masih ada permasalahan dengan terkait dengan pengepul rajungan.
Our network is also trying to establish and has established several cooperatives to address the social economic challenges and issues that our fishers are facing. One of them is the dependency, financial dependency to the buyers. So the cooperative aims to free fishers from that financial dependency, which is really important as a part of our adaptation strategy, so we can be more independent financially.
Memastikan juga teman-teman rajungan ini terlindungi di BPJS Ketenaga Kerjaan.
Through Forkom, we also established a collective insurance, Indonesian insurance called BPJS, that able to protect the fishers and the family from any incidents and healthcare system.
Kesimpulan kami terkait dengan ini, pemerintah pusat dan provinsi harus terus mendorong teman-teman nelayan yang skala kecil.
From the lesson that we have learned through this program, although it's short time, that we encourage national and provincial government to keep supporting us, small-scale fishers,
Berkolaboratif,
and to establish collaborations and partnerships
melibatkan seluruh pemangku kepentingan.
to involve all stakeholders that engage and involved in the fisheries.
Diperlukan pengertian dan kepatuhan dukungan khusus bagi nelayan skala kecil dan masyarakat pesisir.
We also require awareness building as well and understanding of small-scale fisheries,
Meningkatkan kesadaran masyarakat,
yeah,
nelayan, industri, LSM, akademisi, dan masyarakat.
The partnership also, we encourage to engage not only just the government but also universities, civil society organizations and private sectors as well,
Untuk mengatasi permasalahan perubahan dampak iklim.
to encounter the impact and potential impact of the climate change.
Semua pemangku kepentingan harus bekerja sama untuk meminimalkan, mengurangi dampak tersebut.
The all stakeholders need to collaborate and work together to alleviate and to reduce the impact and potential impact of the climate change to the fisheries and coastal communities.
Forkom siap untuk mendukung anggotanya berkomitmen melestarikan lingkungan untuk menjamin keberlangsungan ekosistem laut termasuk perikanan rajungan.
Forcom and its members are committed to support initiative to ensure the sustainability of the marine resources ecosystem, including the blue swimming crab fisheries.
Terima kasih dari jargon kami, jogo bareng, mulya bareng.
Thank you for our jargon, concept together and prosper together.
Thank you very much, Pak Mustaine. It's really amazing to hear about your experience, and I think it's really interesting to hear how climate change really impacts communities that depend on the ocean, and how building a strong community can actually build resilience and also build independence. And relating to that, I would like to continue this discussion about how we can help that kind of community-led initiatives that can build resilience and also build independence. And now I would like to invite Alistair Hurst from Blue Ventures, and he will be talking about his works relating to empowering the community-led initiatives.
Terima kasih. It's incredibly humbling to be here following Pak Musta and hearing the amazing work with the Blue Summer Crab fishery. So thank you very much for sharing that and being here with us today. And thanks to Walton for the opportunity to be here. I think to start with, it's worth reflecting on a question of scale, because when we're talking about Indonesian small-scale fisheries, we're talking about some of the biggest fisheries on the planet. Indonesia I often liken to being a country of superlatives. The sheer scale of habitat, the scale of biodiversity, off the charts in global sense, the scale of habitat loss, often tragically unparalleled for some ecosystems when we're talking about things like mangroves. And the scale of this constituency has about 5 million people working in the so-called small-scale fleet. Of course, there's nothing small about it in Indonesia. This makes small-scale fishers the biggest group of ocean users by far in the country. And of course, small-scale fishing, as I think we're all aware, in Indonesia is of enormous economic value, enormous nutritional importance, enormous social and cultural importance as well. And yet this sector has traditionally been quite marginalised relative to other sectors of the global food economy and the blue economy in particular. Often small-scale fishers are pushed out of decision-making fora in many countries in favour of larger and more powerful economic interests, particularly in this case, of course, in industrial fisheries. And as we just heard from Pak Musna, these communities are among some of the most vulnerable on the planet to the impacts of the climate emergency. We just heard about floods, we know about the increasing frequency and severity of storms, we know about sea level rise, we are in the process of a mega El Nino event that will see unprecedented warming across the tropical Indo-Pacific and the impact that that will have on shallow, thermally intolerant species like corals, likely very, very significant. I think it's also important to emphasise that this constituency of small-scale fishing, my observation that it is the scale of this community that makes them among the best placed to lead our response at scale. So there's 3 opportunities within this sector that I would want to draw your attention to that I think we can harness in climate adaptation in the short term. The first is the extraordinary knowledge that exists within fishing communities in Indonesia. Knowledge of species, knowledge of ecology, knowledge of migratory patterns, knowledge of responses of these very complex socio-ecological systems to management. The second is nature's superpower. It's the natural resilience and recovery potential of these shallow ecosystems to management. We've seen it, we've read it, we know it happens. Community conservation works, it can deliver, let's call them market-beating returns. We've published evidence of women almost doubling their money in a month from fisheries management. Tropical marine ecosystems are among the most productive on the planet. They're also among the most carbon-rich on the planet. That's opportunity number 2. Opportunity number 3 is the scale. It's the ubiquity of this constituency. 5 million people in Indonesia alone. So our work within Blue Ventures, we're a relatively small marine conservation organisation focused on rebuilding fisheries with tropical coastal communities. Our work focuses on reimagining small-scale fishers not as passive victims of or bystanders in this ocean emergency, but as active stewards and agents of change in rebuilding fisheries, restoring coastal ecosystems, and locking away that carbon. And I would argue that not just does community conservation work at scale, it is the only option that we've got. It's the biggest, it's the cheapest, it's the most equitable, and it's the most scalable solution that we've got for climate adaptation at scale globally. And nowhere is that more the case today than Indonesia's vast coastal ecosystems. It's not just me that thinks this. IPCC Scientific Report 6 from earlier this year, I quote, "Rebuilding fisheries at a community level helps avert dangerous climate breakdown, reducing negative climate change impacts while supporting food security, biodiversity, human health and well-being." That is a pretty powerful endorsement of what colleagues like Pak Musna are leading and the movements that we're seeing in Indonesia. I haven't got long, I just want to touch on how we're approaching this in the Indonesian context. We've heard about the enormous scale and value of some of these fisheries. This is Octopus cyanea. Madagascar, Indonesia, has the largest fishery for this species on the planet, caught exclusively in the small-scale fleet, predominantly exclusively by small-scale fishers and in large part also by women. It's exported to very lucrative markets, predominantly in Asia and North America. It's a very fast-growing species. It can double in size every month. It grows exponentially once it's settled on the reef. what we've been able to demonstrate is that short-term management interventions targeting fast-growing, high-value, small-scale fisheries like this can lead to explosive recovery that sends a very, very powerful message, not just to communities, but also to the market and to decision makers, to give more power and more rights and more agency to communities to continue this kind of management. It is in everybody's interest, including the recovery of the ecosystem. Data are foundational to this. The small-scale fleet in Indonesia is possibly the most data-deficient sector of the Indonesian food economy. Equipping communities not just with rights to manage the fisheries, secure management rights, but also the information they need to guide decision making quickly on the water. Data for decision making, locally owned data, digital data, real-time analysis can be transformative in encouraging communities to make informed decisions about management. This shows the kilos of fish of the target species, in this case an octopus fishery in Sulawesi, caught over time. And you can see here what this data has helped this community do from a management perspective. They've shut down the fishery for a 3-month period to enable this stock to recover during a period that we hypothesize is a key period of recruitment. And it's led to a very, very non-linear rate of return. That sends a very powerful message to that community that community-led management is working. It's working for them, it's working for the market, and it's working for the stock. And it's by using dashboards like these that are producing real-time information that's collected by fishers themselves, not by scientists like me, and that is in mobile devices in their pockets, and is updated in real time, that I think the change will really come. So this is the latest iteration of our dashboard launched in Indonesia on Friday, which is now giving access to communities across about 70 sites across the archipelago to this real-time catch and management information. I'd like to end just by touching on the strength of Indonesian civil society in responding to this emergency and in delivering effective locally led solutions on the water. These are the partners that we are currently supporting in Indonesia, proud to support and very privileged to be able to provide some modest technical assistance and financial support. But this is an Indonesian story that's Indonesian-led by Indonesian leaders on the ground in each of these locations. And by supporting civil society proximate organisations in this way, groups that are present, permanent, and based with and alongside the communities that they're supporting, we can deliver these local institutions at local initiatives and solutions at unprecedented scale. I've now got various photos of fish being measured. I'm not quite sure why they're there, but I think it's to show that we are able to adapt this approach to other fisheries. It's not just about octopus, of course. I want to end just with this plug for a new fund that we're launching, frontlinefund.org. This is the Frontline Community Fund. It's been designed as a funding mechanism for these local Indonesian organisations and partners in many other countries to provide unrestricted, long-term, patient support to community organisations and local NGOs that are working alongside communities to do some of this work. You can find out more about us at Blue Ventures. But thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Al. I think a lot of important points that you presented earlier. So I guess the highlight of the presentation will be an example how community-led initiative actually works. And not only to equip them with rights, but also to equip them with the relevant data and information, because it is very important for them to know what is going on, to know the problem, to know the state of the problem, the scale of the problem, and also it equips them to participate better in decision making and also to co-manage the fisheries. And now let's move on to our next speaker. I would like to borrow Pak Mustain jargon, conserve together, prosper together, to now introduce the next speaker, Ms. Meizani Irmadiani from Konservasi Indonesia, because she will be talking about how conservation can also contribute to the efforts of empowering and also protecting the small-scale fisheries.
Hello, good afternoon. Happy to be here again today, and it's a challenging time of the day. I think after people were walking around, and it's kind of lunchtime for most people. So I'm happy that we can be here today, and thank you for Ocean X and Indonesia, Komatfis, as well as the Walton Family Foundation for inviting us. So just a little bit about us. If you don't know, we are a national foundation based in Indonesia. We work to protect ecosystems both on land and in coastal and oceans. We are a partner of Conservation International, and we work in 13 areas in Indonesia. And so we've been quite blessed to be able to support Indonesia's development and activities, and we are also a partner of Ocean X. Thanks, I see Mark is here today from the Ocean X team. So a lot of the speakers have communities. Actually, just this morning, the group of scientists have came out with a new peer review report called the Global Tipping Points. It's actually a very interesting report. I haven't all of it because it's quite a big document, but it really touches base on the identification of 25 parts of the Earth's ecosystems that have tipping points. And we know that multiple drivers are destabilizing the system's resilience. And climate change is a key driver for most, but as well as habitat loss, exploitation, and pollution. Areas worldwide see this reality of a failing ecosystem in the extremes. As we know, small-scale are in the line of climate change, but here you can see just an example of what that looks like. I think Pak Mustain have mentioned this also, right? But if you see the challenges around climate change, temperature rising with coral bleaching, and then also the big waves and storm and sea level rise, this will affect coral damage and destruction of the ecosystem, which impact directly the community livelihoods. Pak Mustain talk about very direct impact, like people go fishing further out from the shore. It's a big cost for the communities. It's fuel costs, it's time costs, and especially with Indonesia having small scale, these are very direct impact to livelihoods and also well-being of people. The second, the threat of coastal areas and the islands in which the communities live. This leads to potential loss of different activities as well, and access to water and food security in a lot of these places. And so we work in places as I mentioned, but one of the key example we want to share is the work that we've done in the Bird's Head Seascape in West Papua and Southwest Papua of Indonesia. This is that we work closely for a number of years with the Walton Family Foundation and other partners. And this is one of the key interventions we work on. The first is the marine protection area as a nature-based solution. The second will be strengthening planet positive economies, as well as the third would be enhanced local wisdom, and the fourth and one of the most important things is also creating sustainable financing through blended finance and diversification of revenue streams. But we want to touch base a little bit on the West Papua region. So this place has marine protected area for almost 15 years now, but it really started with science-based understanding of the importance of ecosystem. And then from that science, we also know this is an area where 60% of coral diversity you can find here. This is the most resilient reef in the world. And these are areas that have been protected or have been managed by the indigenous community and local communities for hundreds of years. So before the became a marine protected area, it is first we saw the big threat was around bombing fishing, because communities in these coastal communities do not have a lot of access to alternative livelihoods. and food security. So there were destruction of these areas. So before the area was designated as a protected area, we actually worked with the community to do a community declaration or adat declarations before it became the Marine National Park of Indonesia. And we have seen over this past 15 to 20 years that with the surveillance activity, with the activities that's ongoing, we see that coral is stable, the fish biomass increasing. So in these protected zones in Indonesia, there is no take zones, the core zones, but there are also community livelihood zones as well, where communities still can do fishing in a responsible manner. We have seen biodiversity here increase. This is the only place in the world that manta population has actually scientifically proven to increase. This is not the case anywhere else in the world. We see this in two areas in West Papua, Southwest Papua, in Raja Ampat, in Dampier Strait, increased by 4%, more than 10% in Southeast Misos. This is a big accomplishment. We have seen food security increase and this is the only area in Indonesia where both from the government of Indonesia. The other piece around after as a protected zones, one of the key aspects is really strengthening the planet positive economy. I think, other sectors as well, we typically have siloed approach in terms of protection production. You have people doing conservation, people doing that this is something that needs to be interconnected very closely. So within these areas, we have done a lot of work on training, assisting local communities, villages, as well as capacity building for different sectors, including tourism of the area itself. The other piece is what I mentioned, local wisdom. So in these areas, in the eastern part of Indonesia, that's something called sasi. It's a traditional knowledge that has been around for actually hundreds of years. But with the resiliency decreasing in these coastal communities, in the sasi is that in if you maybe in August it just for 1 week and saw the catch for sea cucumbers and lobster, which are high value targets, by quite a lot. So recognizing and understanding local knowledge and integrating management activities and management wisdom is really important, and sharing this is important as well. And now we have with other partners as well, see that is blinking in the screen is the areas where the sasi tradition has been re-established and actually recognized. And Indonesian government is also looking at this as a way OECM or other effective conservation measures to be integrated fully in the planning processes and the establishment of marine protected area in the future. The other piece is, the last one is actually around the sustainability of financing. So typically marine protected area or coastal community small scale fishers are supported through grant facilities, but that is not enough. Can jumpstart that otherwise cannot be funded by other activities, but we need to develop different models of revenue as well, revenue stream as an ongoing activity, but also access to different types of financing like blended finance. In example, this part of done is self-financing to environmental services to tourism visitors. Together with we established the first independent, still within the government, but it allows it to be more independent. They also created entrance fee, and we earn about $1 million annually, which covers most of the funding required for the protected areas. And the other one is establish a fund, trust fund for local community, local partners. So this is something we work with Walton and others to grant to 30 around this area. A lot of tools are needed to support resiliency of coastal communities, and we look forward to having a discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mizani. Jenny. So I think it's important to hear how measures can affect some of the benefits, some of the elements of effectiveness controls, and also the acknowledged local wisdom. And we move on to our last but not least speaker sector. I'd like to invite Rian from PT Pertamina.
Now it's my turn. First, having us as is by the moderator just now. My name is I'm representing Pertamina Group, Pertamina Commercial and Trading, Pertamina Patrani. So today I will be delivering the information in relation to how we energize the fisheries in Indonesia. The key in global fisheries that has comprising over 6,000 islands, 6,000 of them islands. The diverse marine ecosystem surrounding islands really contribute significantly to the nation fisheries. And if we are looking at the number of fisheries, especially small-scale fisheries in Indonesia, we have around 1 million fishermen and 1,000 groups, the legal and official groups. We call it community groups, and 3 of them are the cooperatives, the non-governmental cooperatives. We have 3 of them, and then if we're looking at the number of contribution to GDP, fisheries itself considered the contribution around 2.77 trillion US. So it's going to be around 6 billion US dollars. Talking about volume itself, the production of fisheries in Asia, we contribute around cents of global volume. However, despite of the Asian fish also face challenges. Yeah, I know that there are a lot of overfishing and illegal, and also environment. Now, let's see the role of Pertamina as the national energy company, because we are working together with our government to support the fisheries in Indonesia by providing the affordability and accessibility to the energy. As we know, the energy for fisheries holds probably around 40% out of the total cost for the fisheries. And in terms of affordability, Pertamina, as the national energy company through Pertamina Patraniaga, we have mandate to deliver the subsidized product to the small-scale fisheries. The small-scale fisheries here are the fisheries who operates the vessels below the TGT machine capacity. And the accessibility, as we can see here from the map, we provide around, at this moment, we provide around 400 dedicated gas stations or fuel stations to fisheries. And these gas stations that dedicated to the fisheries is spreading out around across the 33 provinces, and that it will grow more based on the requirements from its area or its zone. Okay, now let's looking at the ability side that we do from Pertamina. So we targeted distribution subsidized fuel to small scale fisheries, and for the average scale fisheries, which is like bigger than the small scale, because this speed up the action. Right, our government together with Pertamina, we are trying to convert the energy use from the biodiesel, from gas oil to LPG, which we believe it will impact to the emission reduction. If we are talking about biofuel first, to right now, from 2019, the blending with the biofuel, it's only 20%. Now it's B35, so it's already 35% blended for the we achieve now for the gas oil is around 1.9 million ton CO2 equivalent. And starting from 2016, in some areas, we are trying to convert the biofuels to LPG, which I believe it will be cleaner and low cost. So from 2016 to 2021, on top of 1.9 million, we add around 0.7 million ton CO2 reduction, and 57% fuel cost saving for fishermen. So to conclude a presentation today, as we navigate the future, we will continue to nurture and sustain the fisheries, recognize them, and recognize their vital role in shaping economic development in Indonesia. And again, of course, one more thing, last but not least, by converting the energy support fisheries in Indonesia from gas oil to LPG, it is expected to best not only by gaining the economical value, but also the environmental responsibility.
Thank you so much, Parifa. It's a different perspective and very interesting point that by helping them to use a more renewable fuel, cleaner fuel, it can also elevate their roles in mitigation of climate change. So we have a very packed schedule. We only have 5 minutes left. The ideal idea is to have all the speakers here and have a question and answer session. But now we only have the time for one question from the audience. Oh, okay. And please name where you come from.
I'm Sebastian. I'm Sebastian Rodriguez. I come from India and the India small scale fish communities. I have 2 points. One is about presentation of all blue benches. The same perspective of fishers being a stewards is something I also personally advocate between our fishing communities in India. So I agree with your perspective, and I hope to collaborate with several benches in future. My question, however, is to the Indonesian fishermen over here. I'm very happy to see you here. How successful you have been to engage with the universities, and what are the methods that you've taken to engage with the university? Thank you.
Pak Mustain, jadi ada pertanyaan namanya Pak Sebastian kami. Seberapa berhasil Bapak melibatkan universitas atau akademis?
Terkait dengan akademisi, kami dengan teman-teman forum atau yang dan bekerja sama dengan akademisi terkait dengan apa ini sampling dari rajungan terkait dengan sedimen yang di situ ada rajungannya maupun tidak. Nah ini sangat penting sekali.
Yeah, so our engagement with universities is related with the sampling of the catch monitoring and also study the of blue swimming crab habitat.
Juga terkait dengan pendataan, terkait dengan kawasan yang ada.
So, because we also establish marine protected areas, although it's minor area, small area, finding that area, we also collaborate with universities as well.
Terima kasih.
And Alistair, do you also want to address the session?
Yeah, just to add a little bit that the Blue Swimming Crab Initiative is supported by Walton Family Foundation and implemented by Sustainable Fisheries Partnership. We also established Fisheries Management Committee, which part of the committee there is a scientific advisory body that will advise fisheries manager to make informed scientific-based decisions. The fisheries as well. So it's not only Corcom has been collaborated with, but the fisheries management unit that led by local government and also national government also engage researchers, university, and other experts as well.
Want to quickly address the statement?
I would love to be able to collaborate with Indonesian civil society organizations. I think it's worth. Sorry, so Indonesian society organizations. That there is investment in this scale fishing globally. There are you providing services to